Say hi to the people, Bob.
Hi.
I am once again up here at Bob McVay's place, and today is going to be all about me getting kicked in the pants. Now, let me preface that with this is not Bob's fault. There are two people you don't lie to in your life. Your doctor and your mechanic / engine builder. In this case, Bob is not going to lie to me, and he's going to tell me almost all the negative things that are going on in my world.
Yeah. And you bring all this junk in here, I'm going to tell you about it.
So, Bob has graciously accepted working on my junk Pontiac stuff and my not-so-junk Pontiac stuff. We are currently in the process of building a Pontiac 350 HO, as well as bringing back to life my Pontiac 350 that's in my 1971 Le Mans Sport. In addition to all of the other crazy things he's got going on here, he's helping me get these things back up and running. So, I was at Jegs again today, which is where I typically am every day, because I had to pick up some parts for something, actually for two different somethings for you. But we also have something else.
You too.
I know. You are literally one of the most expensive friends I have. So we were talking about...
So you want to break up the marriage?
No. No. Sometimes it's best to just cut it off. All right, so we started talking about my Pontiac heads. These are the old ones off my 71 Le Mans that are supposedly just ready to go back together.
That's what you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're saying maybe not so much.
No, I wouldn't.
All right, give me the skinny.
I don't want to put something together and then it don't run very well.
Yeah. I agree. And we're gonna put your name on it.
I got to know what the spring pressures are. I got to know what everything is. And when you look at this valve in here, it's sunk compared to these. So you got to ask why.
So what you're saying here is, as far as sunk, where you can see the face of this valve.
Yeah.
Versus where the face of this valve is.
Yeah,
and we're not talking like a ton of distance.
No.
But it's enough.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Especially in your world.
Yeah.
So how do we resolve this?
Well, so the other thing that you look at on this valve job is the seat's way too wide. There's only one angle. It looks like someone jumped in there with a heavy-duty stone and just went like hell. And so it just needs to have another... Really, it may need to have some seats put in it for hardened.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully. But at least needs to be trimmed up. But that's your call. I just wanted to seal long enough for it to run well on the dyno.
It's kind of the stoplight warranty or the tail light warranty.
Tail light warranty in the driveway. What are you talking about?
It's as good until I can see the end of your taillights. So these are pretty much stock original heads.
Absolutely.
They are originally off the 1971 350 that's on in my green 1971 Le Mans Sport. As far as I'm concerned, these have really never been messed with.
I can tell that.
So at this point in time, do it right, do it once. And just go ahead and do the valve job. Now, would you put new valves in it?
Maybe not new valves.
Because they're probably not that expensive.
Yeah, they're probably not that expensive. But I mean, I'm more worried about the seat area than the valves.
So, when we're talking putting hardened seats into this, for those of you who may or may not know this world, back in the olden days when we had lead in fuels, hardened seats weren't a big deal. That was when these things were built. Now that we don't have lead in fuels, you need to have a hardened seat.
See, what makes this deal worse is this is so wide of a seat that it makes it hot because it gets hot in there, and then it starts lifting the material off of the cast iron and starts throwing it away in the seat, and then the valve continues to get deeper.
Bigger and bigger and bigger, right. So the way to do a hardened seat is you literally cut this entire area out.
I think this is too small,
but yeah, that's the idea. So you cut this entire area out, and you put this in its place, which is a hardened material, and then you mash the valve face from that to this,
Yeah.
and you do the valve job essentially on this ring.
With a cutter.
Right. Which is not a small amount of work.
No, it's not.
Not a small amount of work.
No, that's why majority of the time people start investing money in old cast iron heads. They go buy these.
Right. And that's a very, very good point. So these are the Edelbrock aluminum heads for the Olds 455 build. And realistically speaking, a lot of times you end up having very similar money between reconning an old set of heads with seats and valves and everything else and springs versus just buy a set of these. And these are lighter weight, going to take more compression, better in heat dissipation, everything else. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Okay, so I want to keep this motor as stock.
So when I washed these off and was taking them out of the hot tank and I'm blowing water in the intake hole, there was water coming out the exhaust or out the combustion chamber. So I know there's some of them ain't sealed up very well because it's not even holding water.
Much less air.
Much less air. But
okay. So
but my goal is I want to get the short block put together
yeah,
before I go, and then we'll worry about doing these when I get back.
right. But this needs to be done because you're not going to put leaky heads on. That doesn't make any sense. Why did you spend all the money on the bottom end and crap out on the top end?
Right.
So this needs to be done.
Because then it's going to start running shitty, and then we got to go back and do it again.
Right, and it's always Uncle Bob's fault if the engine's running like shit or smoking. Yeah. Okay, so that needs to be done. We'll handle that. Put that on the back burner for right now. So, yay.
But the other reason why I tore it apart was I wanted to see where your springs was versus the camshaft that we got.
Right. And spring pressure wise, so probably need springs.
Probably.
So what we're building here is we're building two Pontiac 350 HOs, but we're going to have a way better apples to apples comparison. We're going to have two completely fresh 350s, really, with reasonably solid setups in them that we'll be able to really test the two between the two with a set of better heads and head work and a roller camshaft and be able to really test that against a really good quality basic Pontiac 350 build with piles of money thrown at both of them. Right? That's what we're working on. Great. That's what we're doing. So now, I didn't know about this until I just walked in the building just a moment ago, but I'm not all that surprised. This motor has like 70,000 miles on it, 75,000 miles on it, which back in the 70s that's service life of that motor.
Yeah, I was going to say that's overhaul time.
Yeah. So it's due. It's due for its thing. Aside from the fact that we run non-leaded gasolines anyway. So that's the top end. We also have bottom end problems.
Well, the bottom end problems is the rods that need to be reconned and run all through, and you suggested just putting those other rods in it, which is fine, but for the rod clearance we needed, I needed a set of 1-unders to get the oil clearance I wanted, which you picked up at Jags, which is the last ones on the face of the earth.
They had 9 of them. I bought 8 of them.
I know, but I already checked through EPW, and he was like, I think they've been discontinued.
Not surprising.
So chances are we'll probably just use one of each, so we can have a half it left.
Okay. So when we're talking 1 under, we're talking 1/1000th
under. But chances are we'll probably just use 1/10 of that, or 500ths, I should say.
That's how particular this man is. And not good enough is not good enough.
It's got to be perfect.
I appreciate that. A lot of people, you and I have joked kind of off camera about the whole, the slap it together kind of situation. And that's not the way you are. It's not it's good enough, we'll send it down the road kind of thing. I truly do appreciate that. Though it costs me more money, I do appreciate getting it done right.
Well, I want to sleep at night.
Yeah.
When it when it goes out the door, I couldn't have done any more.
I think you mentioned it on Bill's video the other day about the fact that, like, these are your kids. Like, when they go out the door, like, you're worried about it.
I am.
I get that. Now, I'm obviously not going to beat my stuff up as bad as what, those guys do.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but
it doesn't matter.
you still build it to the same quality, regardless of whether or not it's going to be used for that or not.
Yeah. You're still doing the same.
Okay. So, let me show you what I've got. I was at Jegs earlier today. I've actually been at Jegs twice today. These are my Eagle rods.
Yep.
Okay. So here's my Eagle rods. And those are going to be what we're now going to use because my old rods from 1971 were not quite up to snuff. And I do technically have a set of 1968 rods that came out of my 350 HO project, but they're just...
Problem, I mean, you can recon these. This was one rod that actually measured out okay.
Yeah.
And then the next 2 and 3 did not.
Okay.
I mean, you can recon them, but I look at the labor and time that you spend in reconning rods into an old rod that's not, to me, as stable as that Eagle or SCAT rod. I mean, you're building something, you're worried about a couple $100.
Right.
And...
Well, and realistically, you're going to spend that couple of $100 either way.
Either way.
You're either spending it in your labor reconditioning those rods.
Those old bolts, how good are those?
Right.
And you only torque those to 45 and you torque those others to 60.
Yeah. I've been down this path before. This is not the first time. If you can reuse the rods and they're great, cool, wonderful, go for it. But otherwise, why would you spend 4 hours reconditioning a set of rods when you can, and paying the labor for your engine builder to do that?
Yeah, you rather have the money spent on parts, to me.
Yeah, and better parts.
Yeah.
Probably lighter parts, to be honest.
They are.
So they're better parts, they're lighter
grams.
parts. So, 30 grams is not an insignificant amount.
No, it's not.
And that's also, we need to rebalance the rotating assembly to do that?
With this stock, yeah, it should be. I wasn't going to. I figured it with that stock crank and harder than you're turning it, it should live and be fine.
Okay.
But yes, in the real world, yes.
Yeah. And I do pay attention to my comment section, by the way. If I haven't responded back to your comments, I will, I promise. A number of people have actually reached out and actually interested in seeing a lot of this, like how it actually works, how the magic happens kind of thing. And I think this channel is probably more interested in that kind of stuff where you actually want to see the machining process and see these things come back to life. And I'm more than happy to do that, and I'll bug Bob until he lets me film that stuff. But like the whole process of balancing a rotating assembly so you figure out all of your individual weights on those pistons. So like your wrist pins, your rings, your keepers, all that stuff.
All that stuff.
So, all of that stuff, we can go through that stuff. If you guys are interested in seeing that, let me know. And I'll talk Bob into letting me film some of it. It's not, it's not particularly exciting stuff, but it's important stuff. If you have your,
And I have a very, very, very nice CW balancer.
Yeah.
Been fortunate that we was able to land that back in the day.
Well, and it's one of those things that a lot of people just kind of like, you skip over that step, and it's just, I don't want to use the term free horsepower because you're spending time and money doing it.
Honestly, I think in my imagination mind, I think it helps keep the crankshaft supported in the oil, and it doesn't allow it to do this. Mm-hmm. If it's smooth, it's going to stay more steady. Right.
And it's also not going to try to beat itself apart when you've got something that's unbalanced. Yeah. And even it's just a couple of grams here and there.
Well, for instance, a lot of the pre-balanced cranks that I get in that I rebalance will be 30 grams off. Yep. And they feel that's okay. On ours, I'll get it down to 10 grams or less.
Yeah. And that's when you're looking at these.
And that's more what they call race. It's so many grams per ounce of length of rod, or crank, but I want to put it to
yes, make it the best you can.
Yeah.
And that's a great point, as a lot of times when you're buying a rotating assembly, there's a B at the back of it, which says it's balanced. It's coming to you balanced. Almost everybody I've ever dealt with will, as a machine shop, will also balance that rotating assembly.
I think as a whole, that probably, I mean, a lot of the people that sell those rotating assemblies out there, I won't mention any names, have very good balancers. But it seems like even still, when it comes in, you know, it's off a little. You know what I mean?
But their tolerances are probably not what.
Yeah, what I'm setting it up to be.
Right. So
that's where I said a lot of it will be 30 grams off, and in a street world, that's fine.
yeah.
In a race world, we want 10 grams or less.
Yeah. So pistons wise, we're happy.
Yeah, we're going to just reuse them. You can see, I went in and refreshed the hone, and you can see a little bit of a gap at the top. Now, the refresh hone squares the cylinders up a little bit, but I don't take any extra meat out of it because I don't want a loose piston. I would rather have a little bit like this at the top that isn't finishly honed versus taking it, making it larger. Because you can't get that meat back.
Right.
You can't get that back.
So there's our new set of rings that are going to go there. And you can see what I hope I can get that on camera, what he's talking about there with the topping piece. So these are our original pistons that are in here. And these will come off these rods. And then we'll press fit these back onto our new Eagle rods. These are our 1010 bearings because he did have to cut the crankshaft rods and mains to be 10 under. So we've got those bearings, that's good to go. That means this bottom end is pretty much squared up now that we've got the rod situation figured out. But we're probably going to go in and balance that rotating assembly just to get it all proper. And then we do have a new camshaft for this thing as well, which is, I believe, over on the shelf over there.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other nightmares that we found on this so far? Okay. So, we've got almost everything. I've got a gasket kit set for this as well, and I need to make sure that I've got a new rear main seal for it instead of the rope seal that comes with it. Not a rope seal kind of guy. Otherwise,
Did you know that they make a perfect round one that you cut and twist and it slides in?
Who's that from?
BOP.
Yes, that's exactly who I'm getting my rear main seal from.
Yeah, it's a. Actually, I'll have to take the crank back out and put it on because you got to twist it, put it on, and then puts the crank in.
Okay. So this has already been cut.
Honed?
Yep.
Yeah.
The crank has already been cut 1010.
No. This is yours. This is the one that was ready to go together.
Oh, this one is not being cut 1010. The 350 HO is. My bad. So this is going to be just standard bearings, standard rods, standard mains.
Other than one unders.
Other than one unders. Okay. All right. So that's good, more or less. But we can get the bottom end assembled before you head off to pirating. Okay. Now, the other thing that we want to probably talk about is this unbelievably frustrating Oldsmobile 455 thing.
That you brought me parts for.
Yes, that we brought you parts for.
You don't. A comment to the viewers is you don't want to buy parts from 3 different places.
Yes, I agree. And this is definitely...
Especially if it ain't small block stuff or big block Chevrolet
right, if
stuff.
it's not Chevy stuff.
If it's not Chevrolet stuff. Because when you start buying parts from 3 different people, they just sell you a part and...
Yeah, I'm not responsible if my part doesn't work with their part.
Yeah.
And even in this situation, if it's SCAT stuff specifically, because this is SCAT crank, SCAT rods, and we still have...
Well, they don't make SCAT doesn't make a rod to fit it right.
Yeah.
In that pin size.
Right.
I mean, so if you would have ordered a set of pistons for that pin size, if they would have made that.
Right.
Which
are custom made.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, before I get too deep into this conversation, let me give you a quick little refresher. Oldsmobile 455. Billet steel crankshaft from SCAT. Very nice. Honestly, way more than what we actually need.
It's truly not billet.
Well, they call
It's
it billet
forged.
steel.
Yes, forged steel.
So, massively impressive crankshaft. customer had purchased this previously, and he kind of started stacking up parts before we got involved in this. The trick part here is this does not have Olds journals. It has
Big block Chevrolet.
big block Chevrolet journals.
200s.
So, as in this bottom piece,
Careful.
which is called the big end of this rod.
Piston.
Yeah. That is a big block Chevy size, which is not the same size as a big block Oldsmobile. Now, the other problem with this is essentially a big block Chevrolet rod. Unfortunately, this is a big block Oldsmobile piston. And they have different pin sizes. AKA this hole
10,000 different.
is 10 thousandths different. And 10 thousandths, again, to most people, doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
It is a big deal in that area.
In this area, it is a big deal, which means these pistons do not properly fit on these rods. So the answer would be, well, just get the right rods. Well, unfortunately, that's not an answer because nobody makes, including SCAT, makes a rod with a Chevy big end and an Oldsmobile little end. It's not a thing. I talked to SCAT and they'll make me a set if I buy 160 of them.
Well, you in the business.
So unless I'm going to be building 455 Oldsmobile crate motors with these rotating assemblies in it, that's not an attractive option. The other thing is we could get a custom-made piston to be able to do this. But it's like $1,200 for a set of pistons that'll do this. And it's a couple of weeks to be able to get in there. And we've already got a set of custom pistons. And we've already got a couple of other things. So we are trying to engineer ourselves a solution to this to be able to use the set of pistons we have and the rods we have to be able to make this make sense. Unfortunately, that's kept on putting us behind schedule, which is pretty much your life. It's a parts problem all the time. If you could just have a stack of parts and build a motor from start to finish, a couple of days. Machine it.
I bet it still wouldn't work that well.
You try to be as good as you can be when you bring somebody a motor, and then there's always something.
Yeah.
There's never anything you just go start to finish.
Yeah.
I mean, have you had one where you literally just started on it and could take it from nothing all the way up?
Especially not without going back out there and fixing something.
Yeah. There's just always something.
You gotta have all that stuff out there to do it right because there's always out there you're fixing something.
Yeah. There's always something.
Every part.
Either that or you're skipping something. You're
not seeing it.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with the Olds 455 build. So we are going to get creative, and we are going to be doing bushings.
We're gonna put some bushings in, and we got to see how much we got to cut off that pistons.
So we're going to bush these to be able to make that fit correctly. And then we've got an issue as far as the depth of the piston sitting in the cylinder, where it's sitting a little too tall from what we want. So we're going to make sure that we get these pistons sitting exactly where we want them so we have our correct compression ratio. This is being built to run on like the crappiest gas you can run it on, because this is actually going to go in a big Oldsmobile that he wants to be able to take on like power tour and that kind of stuff. So we're trying to build it to run on the crappiest gas possible, but also make really good power and sound good and be able to run well. So we've got a couple of things we've got to check off the list to be able to make it work correctly. But at the end of the day, he's not gonna tolerate not doing it right. So that's where we are on those two. What else we got going on?
For you, nothing.
Okay, well that's good. Running out of money. Thanks for watching, by the way. Your time spent on these videos actually makes the revenue that I could spend buying parts.
Watch him twice then.
Yeah, maybe go back and watch this again.
You go back and watch it because I'm going to charge him.
Maybe go back and watch a couple of other videos. Whatever it is that's interesting to you, just go back. You know, you don't even really have to watch. Just put them on play and let them run.
Let them run all night.
Let them run. Listen to my voice all night long. Maybe I need to do like an ASMR, deep, sexy voice, reading a story kind of thing. Because I need your help to pay my bills. But this is reality, man. Like, this is how engine building...
You could be a Jimmy Dale, go out there along the road with a cardboard.
I could try that.
Need to pay my machine shop so I can get back to Texas.
Yeah. But this is real. Like, this is how it really goes. Like, and if you ever wonder why machine shop guys always seem like they're stressed out, it's because this is how it is, man. Like, I was joking off camera, like, Bob, you got a lot of things going on. Like, look at this man. These are all projects. Almost all projects from...
And that one too.
2 people? Three of us? 4 of us? But, you know, and all of these things are one part away. Or, you know, you work on it, you get it there, and then you stop. And then you stop. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into this. It's not something where you just toss it all together again and everything works perfectly fine. So, my Pontiac 350 HO build is sitting over here in the corner. It is kind of back burner at this point in time because Bob's got a limited amount of time before he takes off. But this is the 350 HO build, and we are going to do a roller setup in that. We are going to test a couple of different intake manifolds on it. I'm actually working on possibly picking up a Pontiac Quadrajet original intake manifold. It's an old cast iron one because the old wives' tale is nothing flows as good as the old stuff. Okay, maybe that's true because I actually don't own one of those. I've always had aftermarket intake manifolds on all of my Pontiacs. So I'm going to pick up a cast iron Pontiac original Q-Jet intake manifold from like a 70, 71, 455. And we're going to be able to test that as well. I've got a Torquer 2. I'm getting an air gap. I've got a Performer RPM and a Performer. I've got the Offenhauser intake manifold that I'm going to be working on as well and be able to test that. And we're going to be able to throw a whole bunch of different things at this thing and be able to see what makes power wear and how it affects things without changing heads, without changing camshafts and all that kind of stuff. I think it could be something really, really interesting. And there's a lot of old wives' tales that are out there as far as what makes power when and how things affect what. And I think this will be a really cool way of being able to actually confirm that. And fortunately, Bob has a dyno in there, so we can be able to test that. Also, these are my 62 casting heads from the Pontiac, which is big valves, screw-in studs, and that's what we're going to put on the 350 HO, which is actually truly what they made the 350 HO back in the 68, 69 days, is with those exact 62 heads. So we'll be able to test it all and break it all in, or break them all in and test them all on his engine dyno, and I will have to pay for that as well. So again, thanks for watching. Bob, is there anything else you want to say to the people before we sign off and go home?
Peace.
There you go, folks. That's an update on what's going on up here at Bob's. And we're having fun. This is an expensive thing. This is an expensive process. And the thing is, like, I had when I was at Jegs, I apologize. I didn't get the gentleman's name that was talking to me about, you know, unless you have a Chevy, this is a lot more difficult. Parts are harder to find. They're more expensive. They're not typically in stock. This is a lot more annoying. You can't buy a Pontiac crate motor that's just sitting in a box at wherever, you know, Summit or Jegs or wherever. It's just a little bit more challenging. Unfortunately, I also like building stuff that's weird and different, so that's just my problem, I guess. Anyways, guys, thanks for being here. Truly do appreciate you. This is Automotive Adventures with Austin, my own little personal corner of the YouTube internets where I work on my own projects and that kind of stuff, and then obviously spend absorbent amount of money with Bob. Being able to get these projects back up and running. And there also is an AMC 360 project that's sitting over there that I need to get that up. I need to get up here and disassemble that and get that all cleaned up. But that'll be all for something new. If you're interested in this kind of thing, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again. If you made it this far, thank you. Also, go ahead and watch some of the other stuff to be able to help pay my bills. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for being here, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. By the way, extra credit. Just so we understand each other, I am part of the Gold Chain gang, too. I'm an original. I'm an OG. This gold chain has not come off of my neck since 1993. It has been on my neck since 1993.
Mine was on. I had to take it off the other day to have a x-ray or something. Yeah, chest x-ray or something.
Nothing. This has not come off my neck for anything. And I mean anything. Since 1993. We bought this at Tower City in Cleveland, the mall, downtown Columbus. My dad bought me this. My dad and my mom bought me this in the mid-90s when I lived in Northeast Ohio. So I am an OG, original gold chain gang kind of guy. I just don't rock mine outside like I'm sure you guys do. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.